Hello. Okay, it's so cute. Anytime I start talking into the microphone, my dog thinks that I'm talking to her. So she's getting very excited over there. Her tail's wagging a lot. Okay, she's not going to make an appearance right now, I don't think. Anyway, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Andrea, and on this channel, we are talking about restaurant drama, restaurant reviews, personal stories, anything kind of fun and entertaining to do with my industry that I work in, which is obviously the restaurant industry. I've been in the industry for a long time, basically my entire career. Yes, it's true. I got a job at Sonic Drive-In as a car hop when I turned 16 years old, and I have been working in restaurants ever since. Um, Honestly trying to think of a job that I've ever had that has not been in a restaurant. And the closest thing I can think of is the time that I worked in a bakery, but it's the same thing. So yeah, I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of crazy stories. I have a lot of hot or maybe not so hot takes, maybe pretty normal takes for people who are in the industry. Um, Front of house, obviously. Um, So, yeah, today I thought that I would do some kind of fun Reddit reactions. I love Reddit. I don't know if anyone else out there is a huge fan. I spend far too much time on that website. My husband is always on X, Twitter, and I'm always on Reddit. So, one sub that I love so, so much is Am I the Asshole? It's so fun. Um, Strangers put out their stories and their experiences and ask for us to judge, and I love judging strangers on the internet. So, some of these are like really just very vaguely restaurant related. Am I the asshole for going to a restaurant like Twin Peaks with friends after my girlfriend and I agreed not to go to places like that? Obviously. What are you talking about? Obviously. Duh. I don't even have to read the post. You told your girlfriend you wouldn't do it. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go here. Am I the asshole for not tipping my waiter at a restaurant because I think the system is unfair? Yes. If you're in America, yes. I'm sorry. If you think it's unfair, I understand. If you hate tipping, I understand. If you have tipping fatigue, I understand. However, and this is a big fat however, it's still the majority of your server's income is tips. I'm so sorry that you don't agree with it for some reason, but anyway, I especially use it. Okay, I'm getting heated up and I'm not. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to read the post. Okay. I recently went to a restaurant and had a pretty decent experience with my waiter, but there was one thing that bothered me. I found out that the waiters in this place are required to tip out a portion of their earnings to other staff members like chefs, bartenders, and cleaners. Essentially, for every table they serve, they automatically have to give up a percentage, about 10% of the bill, no matter how much or how little they receive. This is very standard. This is very standard. For me personally, I am a bartender. I don't get tipped out at my restaurant. I get paid hourly. It's a whole thing the way that our restaurant pays us, but every other restaurant that I've worked at as a bartender, we do get tipped out a certain percentage of the servers' tips, and that is because we're making all the drinks for their tables. So why would we not get paid for that? We only have so many seats at the bar that we can get tips from. So that's why you tip out the bartender. The kitchen is interesting, but I also the restaurant that I work at now, before they paid us hourly, we did tip out the kitchen. So the kitchen is responsible for you having a good experience as well. So I do understand why the kitchen would be included. Ideally, we would love restaurant owners and companies to pay the kitchen, and then you wouldn't have to give them the tip, but reality of the situation is a lot of times that doesn't happen, and the kitchen works really hard to put on a good dinner service. So I do believe that they earn a bit of that tip as well. And then cleaners, I don't know if that's really true. That's weird, but it does say it's about 10% total for the tip out, which is pretty standard. That's pretty standard. I've seen places where it's much higher than that. So when I got my bill, I noticed that the service charge was already included, so I thought I didn't need to leave an extra tip. I'm aware that the service charge is meant to go to the staff, but I also found out even if customers leave no tip, the waiter still has to pay out that 10% from their own pocket. In other words, if I leave zero tip, the waiter loses money on the table. I'm confused because that is true. That is true. If you go to a restaurant where the server is working for tips mainly and they have to tip out. So, say your server makes $2 an hour, which they do in a lot of this country in the great year of our Savior, 2025, our Lord and Savior. Sorry, I said that wrong. In 2025, a lot of servers still do make $2 an hour. It is still legal to pay a server $2 an hour. So, if you go to a restaurant that pays their server $2 an hour and you don't tip, but they have to tip out, yeah, they just paid to wait on you. It's true. That's a real thing that happens. Um, Thankfully, it doesn't really happen that often, but it does happen. I'm confused about this situation because there's a service charge already included. My restaurant, we have a service charge included. That is what pays my hourly. So I'm kind of confused about how. I'm confused. That's all. I'm confused. Um, let's see. I don't really agree with the system. I think it's unfair to waiters to have to tip out a percentage of the bill regardless of how much they earn in tips. It feels like they're being penalized for doing their job, and I just don't think that's right. So I decided to not leave a tip at all, hoping it would bring attention to this issue. The only thing you're bringing attention to is the fact that you didn't tip your server. But again, there is it says, I think it said 18%. Um, where does it say? I'm so silly. I can't find it. Oh, it doesn't say. It just says that the service charge wasn't included. I don't know how much the service charge was. I don't know. It feels like the service charge would cover any kind of inconsistencies like that. And also, if you're including a service charge on the check, you're probably not really expecting guests to tip extra on top of that. Now they can, and it's very generous if they do. I always appreciate when people leave extra money. In my restaurant, if you leave a tip, and I think they did this to combat people from being sneaky and not telling guests about the service charge and trying to like double dip in tips. But if a guest were to tip me on top of the service charge, that tip would be split evenly with the entire staff working, including the kitchen. So say there were 10 people, there's 5 people in the kitchen, 5 people in the front of house, you give me 10 extra dollars, we each get $1. That's how it works. And I think that does make sense. That's fine. And so it also is like a reason for you to be like, it's really okay. You don't have to leave extra, which is fine. And I do always tell guests that. Well, I don't tell them that I'm splitting their extra tip because they probably would not really like that very much, if I'm being honest. But I do tell the guests that the service charge is already included and that extra is not necessary. So I'm a little confused about the system of this restaurant. It doesn't really make sense. If it doesn't make sense to me, as someone who has 15 years experience working in restaurants, it's not going to make sense to the guests. It clearly doesn't make sense to the guests. However, this particular question, am I the asshole for not leaving a tip because I disagree with the system? Yeah. 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 Now, if you're not leaving a tip because there's already a service charge included, that's a different story. But you're saying, I don't agree with this, therefore I won't tip. That really just doesn't make any sense. And you're not doing anything other than taking money out of the server's pocket, especially if you said you had a decent experience. So I'm not really sure. I'm just like, I don't know. This is so confusing. I don't think this person really, I'm being honest, I don't think this person knows what's going on. Um, if there's like an 18% service charge, gosh, see, I don't know. I don't know. It's confusing. I don't wonder what the service charge was. If it was 18%, if it was close to 20%, if it was 10%, if it was, I don't know. However, yeah, I don't know. I do think, OP, you're kind of the asshole for not tipping, thinking that you're making a stance because it doesn't really do anything other than make you just look like a jerk. And no one wants to look like a jerk when they had a good experience. You said your server was good. So this one sounds pretty interesting. Am I the asshole because I refuse to pay extra for food I received on accident? Now, I have definitely given tables food that they did not order. Either I accidentally rang in the wrong thing and I brought it out, or even like the chef just hands you food and tells you to take it to the wrong table. Once you put a plate down on, the table, it's kind of can't take it back into the kitchen and serve it to another guest. So obviously, I've given tables food for free, but I would never charge them for it. That always gets comped. So let's see. I refuse to pay extra for food I received on accident. I ordered delivery. I ordered takeout and I ended up receiving 2 extra containers. I didn't think anything of it because sometimes they separate the fries, so I figured our burgers and fries were separate. I got inside and started opening everything and realized there were 2 things I didn't order. We ended up getting someone else's order with ours. Okay, so they bagged all the to go food together when it was not supposed to be. I was so busy and I was just trying to feed the husband and kids. I knew I wasn't going to attempt to return the food as it was already open inside my house and looked through. I don't feel too horrible because I did leave the guy a good tip. 45 minutes later, I get a phone call from the owner of the restaurant. That is unhinged. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Okay, sorry. It would have been worse if I just sat here and sniffled the whole time. Anyway, that is unhinged that the owner called 45 minutes later. I'm not answering that. I'm not answering that. Even if I did answer it, I'm hanging up on you. Anyway, she said, "Hello, I noticed you received someone else's order and was hoping you could either return it or cover the cost for the extra food you got." For some reason, that made me so upset. No, girl, I would be upset too because that's ridiculous. You, as the restaurant, are the ones who screwed up the order. So why would the customer have to pay for that? Why would you make the guest? I'm sorry, I said custy. We don't refer to them as customers around here. We refer to them as guests. And why would you make your guest pay extra for something that you messed up? It makes no sense. It's inherently, it goes against everything that you would think a restaurant would stand for as far as service is concerned because you are the one who messed up. Why would you make them pay extra for food that they didn't want in the first place? They didn't order it. If they wanted it, they would have ordered it. I refuse to pay extra, especially because it was 2 items we would normally never order. That's what I'm saying. We tipped the driver well. I did the math, and the food we received came up to $21, aside from the $37 I paid for our food. I wasn't about to spend $58 plus the $10 tip I left to the driver. Am I the asshole for not paying for extra food that I did not order or ask for? Of course not. Of course not. That restaurant owner is, they must be down bad to be calling people at their homes asking them to pay for food after you've long gone from the restaurant. 45 minutes? Sir, ma'am, who I think, yeah, I said she was an owner. The owner was a she. Ma'am, what are you thinking? Do you want this person to never go back to your restaurant again? Because that's how you get them to never go back to your restaurant again. Do you want them to badmouth you to all of their friends? Because that's how you get them to badmouth you to all their friends. Clearly unhinged. Um, let's see. Also, like, what if it was something that OP could not eat? What if it was something that OP was allergic to, God forbid, and you put it in the food in the bag with the rest of their food, and they couldn't eat anything now? I'm just saying. I'm just playing devil's advocate. What if? Not the asshole. They made a mistake. That is not the customer's responsibility, Bobby. I mean, and it's like, what were you gonna do? What were you gonna do with the food if you got it back, babe? 45 minutes later, you're gonna throw it in the trash. So you really, sometimes restaurant owners should not be restaurant owners. Where did you come from that you think this is okay to do? Obviously not the asshole. Let's see. Let's read this one. It looks low stakes, low threat. Am I the asshole for bringing my own cake to the restaurant? I've worked at a kind of casual chain restaurant. That place, you could bring in a cake. We keep it in the fridge for you. We don't charge you for it, whatever. No big deal. The restaurant that I work at now, we do have a cake cutting fee, but we do actually cut the cake for you and stuff, serve it for you on plate, blah, blah, blah. We do the whole nine, whereas the last restaurant, we would just stick it in the fridge and then bring it out to you when you're ready for it. But that is, you wouldn't just, if you walked into my restaurant and you had like a cake on your table and you just kind of sat it there and waited that's not going to fly. Mm-mm. Oh, okay. Also, this person says that they're 16 years old, so They don't know. And I would not expect a 16-year-old to know that. Okay. Am I the asshole for bringing my own cake to the restaurant? This happened 8 months ago and it's been on my mind ever since. Oh my gosh, this poor 16-year-old has just been losing sleep for 8 months over this. For my 16th birthday, I celebrated with my grandparents, uncle, dad, and sister. 6 of us total. Okay, so someone probably should have known. Someone in that group probably should have known. Um, since I live with my grandparents, they're the ones who helped organize a small gathering at a really nice restaurant. Okay, if it's a really nice restaurant, then yes, they probably have a cake cutting fee. So you know you can't just waltz in there with your own dessert and kind of keep it on your table and do whatever. Um, my weirdo Ruby girl. I don't know if you can see her. My dog is being cute. My grandfather has diabetes and has to be careful about what he eats. On top of that, I have autism and significant texture sensitivities, making it really hard for me to eat dry cakes. Moist cakes are a must for me. To make sure everyone could enjoy the dessert, I decided to bake my own cake. This way, I could make sure it tasted just right and had suitable ingredients for my grandfather. I knew our dietary needs were specific, so I didn't want to rely on someone else to make it and then be upset if it wasn't perfect. Kind of really mature for a 16-year-old. We go to the restaurant and I carry the cake in as we walk to our table. We ordered our meal and start eating, and it was delicious. My grandmother and I shared a 16-ounce sirloin with shrimp and fries, and it was amazing. When the waitress came by to see if we liked our food, I told her everything was great and asked if she could bring us some plates for the cake. She looked a bit confused but brought out plates anyway. I had my own knife, so I started cutting the cake and we sang happy birthday. A little while later, the waitress returned and told us, please don't bring outside food into the restaurant without asking for permission first. We hadn't asked beforehand and honestly didn't know that was a rule. Now, of course, like I said, I don't expect the 16-year-old to know what a cake cutting fee is. However, I expect grandma, grandpa, aunt, mom, or dad to know. I truly do. I expect one of those grown adults to know. Also, unfortunately, you cannot bring home cooked food into a restaurant like that. Um, if you were going to bring your own cake, it would have to be something that was baked in a professional kitchen, just really to cover the restaurant's own behind in case anything happened, in case you got sick off of the food that you made at home. It's just, I know it's kind of maybe something that seems silly, but yes, it does need to be baked by a professional bakery and not by a cute little 16-year-old girl trying to celebrate with her mom and dad and grandparents. Maybe, honestly, should have just saved the cake for home. Um, we hadn't asked beforehand. I didn't know. I thought it would be fine since I've seen people bring cakes to restaurants for birthday celebrations before. Our decision to bring the cake was simply to accommodate our dietary restrictions. If anyone who works in the industry could share their perspective. Oh, you didn't ask me specifically, but I'm going to tell you. Yeah, you're 16 years old. You've got your whole entire life ahead of you. Many more birthdays, many more moist, delicious cakes for you to enjoy. And um yeah, now you know that you can't just bring, like I said, you can't just bring a cake in and tuck it to the corner and hope the restaurant doesn't mind, because the restaurant does mind. Yeah, you don't do that. And that's okay that you didn't know that as a 16-year-old. Unfortunately, I hate to dub a 16-year-old the asshole. So I'm not going to dub a 16-year-old the asshole. You, baby, are not the asshole. You're perfect and flawless and amazing. Your parents are the asshole. Also, where was this cake? The fact that y'all had an entire dinner and the server didn't even notice? Where did you keep it? Was it like under the table? You have like a bag under the table? I don't really understand that. Now you know. Like I said, many more birthdays, many more cakes, many more cake cutting fees. Maybe. Maybe. $35, I think, is what. Actually, I think that's our corkage fee. I think it's per slice. I don't even know. I don't even know how much we charge. It doesn't really. I don't serve tables. I'm a bartender. Okay, I don't know. But yes, you have to let the restaurant know, and they are probably going to charge you because that's just what they're there for. They're there to make money, and they don't make money when you bring your own food in. So, I hate to be a hater, but mm, just a little bit. Just a little bit. You know better. You'll be better in the future. I know it. I just know it. This has been keeping you up for 8 months at night. Okay, I know that you are gonna use this and take it as a learning moment and never let it happen again. I just know it. All right. Anyway, yes, that is my Am I the Asshole ranking. Yes, you're the asshole for not tipping because you thought you were making some kind of stance. And you are unfortunately just playing by the rules of the game, okay? Just playing by the rules of the game. You are the asshole for bringing in your own cake and not saying anything to the restaurant staff. Now, I if there was like a scale, obviously first OP is more on the asshole scale than second OP. However, two for two, you're both the asshole. Um, yeah. Let me know what you thought of this video. Do you think these people are the asshole? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you think I'm the asshole, which is so fine. Wouldn't be the first time I've been called that. It won't be the last, I'm sure. Someone will probably call me an asshole tonight when I go to work. I'm actually about to leave right now. So, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I really enjoy this. I think this is fun. It's kind of a cute little way. I don't know if you can see my dog in the background. She's so cute. Kind of fun, cute little way to bring my restaurant experience to YouTube. I love YouTube. I don't know if I mentioned that. I love judging strangers on the internet, and I love YouTube. Two of my favorite things. Combining them just with a little bit of my somewhat knowledge, I guess. I don't have much of it. There's not a lot going on up here. But when it comes to restaurants, I think I know a little bit. So, if there's anything else, any other video ideas you have for me, I've got a few rolling around in there. I've also got a few of my own crazy stories that maybe I'll share, maybe not. Yeah, let me know if you like the video. Let me know if you like my dog. You better like my dog. Her name is Ruby, and she's an angel. Ruby, see her? She's very cute. Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you had fun. I did. Okay. Mwah.